I get asked a question sometime and I'm just the wrong guy to ask. Chael, how did you get on TV? How did you start to work for ESPN? And I must tell you, that is a position that I take for granted. And I don't want to. I'm so great. Very hard to participate in the sport unless you're in the sport participating. It's just one of those hard things. If I wanted to know how to be a referee, I would have to go and call some referees and go, hey, what did you do? Or if I wanted to judge fights, I would have to go call some other judges and go, hey, what do you do? And I know it's through the commission, you fill out paperwork, and I got a pretty good idea, but I've never done it. I don't fully know. TV. I'm from Oregon, guys. Nobody in Oregon dreams of being on television. It's just not something we have here. If you lived in California, you might have that dream. You might even have a relative or a friend or a cousin, and they could put you in touch with somebody. Or if you were in New York, right, the media capitals of the world, and there's studios everywhere. And if you lived in the Midwest, for example, and that's what you want to do, okay, great, but you're going to relocate to California or to New York. That's just where these kinds of things happen. So as a guy from Oregon, that had never even crossed my mind. And I was also in the sport at a different time. By example, the Fox deal. When Fox came in, that changed the sport. It changed opportunities. It changed ways to participate. ESPN, who then takes over the Fox deal, but that changed and helped to create some of these opportunities. I'm just sharing my story because I got asked this question. And I was getting ready to fight Anderson Silva. And we were at what's called the UFC Expo. And the UFC Expo is this huge deal. It's a wildly successful, all the vendors come in. If you've got a piece of MMA equipment that you think somebody should have in their gym, you set up a booth at the Expo. If you have MMA attire, Tap Out comes to mind. You set up a booth and you bring people over and you sell your merchandise. But it was in this major spot at this convention center. I'd never seen it before. I didn't even know what to expect. I was a Tap Out athlete at the time. I went out on behalf of Tap Out. When I got there, this thing was massive. Like the biggest room of the entire Las Vegas Convention Center, and it is walled floor to floor with vendors and ideas and meet and greets, and they had a stage set up in there, and they were doing Q&As, and Dana came in and said hello to everybody. I mean, it was just like the must-attend event if you're a fan, and it was also in conjunction with International Fight Week. So the fans now, instead of flying in on a Friday to catch the weigh-ins and then go to the show on Saturday and get on an airplane to come home, they were there all week. Joe Rogan was putting on performances. I mean, this International Fight Week, which was just an idea they came up with somewhere, was a massive hit. Set that aside, it's not totally relevant to the story, other than this is where I was, and it was Mandalay Bay. So the hotel, the casino, the restaurants of Mandalay Bay, but then you walk down this very long hallway. I mean, it's like a 1/4-mile indoor straight rectangle hallway, and then you get to the convention center. So I was just starting to get my run. I was just starting to get my due where people that were in the fight world would see me and know my name. Oh, that guy's name is Chael. So I'm leaving the convention center. I'm in my Tap Out gear. I had done my little job and I'm free for the day. I'm going to walk down the corridor and then be back to the casino and find an elevator and get back up to my room. Okay, fine. Well, when I leave the convention center, oh my God, I was a star. I mean, I must have had 6 people around me. I might have had 8 people around me yelling and taking pictures, saying nice things, wanting an autograph, just an experience that I had never been through. And I'm looking around and go, these guys know who I am. That never happens to me. At this point, I'm like, hey, you a fighter? I think I've seen you fight before. What's your name? They know who I am. They want my autograph. Oh my God, I'm just a star. Somebody else emerges. Somebody else who's doing the same thing that I am, which is getting ready to leave and go down the corridor and return to the casino so they could get to the elevator, get to their room, comes out. I don't know who it is. All I know is the very small crowd that I had that represented the largest crowd I had ever had leaves. They just turn their back and they run to this mob. I mean, it's like Brad Pitt must have been standing over there. So I'm thinking, where'd all these guys go? And the little ego boost that I got from that is now gone. Now my feelings are hurt. I'm on the other side of it. I'm embarrassed. Where these people go? Trying to look. I'm trying to see who it is. It's Anderson Silva. And I had not fought Anderson Silva yet. This is before our first fight. So there's this massive, hundreds of people. I can't even see who's in the middle of it. I'm having to jump to look over. It's Anderson Silva. Well, Anderson, who had been in this spot a million times before, I'm having my first spot, who had been in this spot a million times before, he doesn't really have time for it. Wherever he's got to go, he's got to get. So he's kind of giving the people the, hey, thank you for being here. Worked the no English routine and starts walking. And he's even got some security and they're kind of trying to push people back and Anderson gets out. And I turned to him over that mob and I said, Anderson, you sign every one of those autographs and you take every one of those pictures. Because when I'm done with you, no one's ever going to want to speak to you again. And I was pissed. I was not acting. Like my feelings were, I was upset. I turn and walk off. He's walking behind me. And I keep going. I got this long hallway. It's just a straight shoot, but it's like a quarter mile. I mean, think about that. It's a lap around a track. Okay. It's going to take me a couple of minutes. I'm trying to get away. He's behind me and he's yelling for me. Chael. He's yelling for me. And I look back and I give him one of these numbers. I just keep walking. So he starts walking faster and he finally catches up to me and he throws an arm around me. Now, throwing an arm around somebody is a very condescending thing to do. He meant it as a nice thing. He meant it as, hey, whoa, hey, young man, relax. I took it as condescending, and now I don't have much of a choice. I can either stand there like a little child who has an arm around him, or I can take advantage of my surroundings, which is a whole bunch of people, and they're all holding up iPhones. And this is going to happen right now. So I turn and I push him away. Both hands. So now we're face to face. And he's still a gentleman. I couldn't work him up as hard as I'm trying. And I say other things to him. I got my finger. I don't know what's going to happen, but it's going to be caught on camera. We'll settle this business right now. And he's nice and he says, relax. You must relax. Be a gentleman. Just relax. Our business later. Relax. So I realize I'm not getting anywhere. And I give him one more little shake of the finger and whatever I said, and I walk away. Well, at this point, I'm now thirsty. For whatever reason, I was thirsty. I had anything to drink. And at the Mandalay Bay, there's this open bar. Just like it's an open, it's not like the party, oosh, oosh, oosh. It's not like that. It's like a bar where you go get something to drink. And I know exactly what I want. I believe it is called a Roy Rogers, but I want some Coke with some grenadine in it. I wait my turn in line. I get my Coke and grenadine. There's a guy standing there. The guy looks like a perfectly nice guy. He knows something about fighting because he says something to me. He's in a nice suit. He's having his own whatever his drink is. And by the way, as I'm standing there in line, I keep smelling something. And this is where Anderson had his arm around me. This was like Anderson's armpit as his arm is around me before I turn and let him know I'm not your little kid that you put your arm around. But I keep smelling this thing. And it smells fantastic. Like whatever he was wearing, whatever deodorant or perfume he had, like I had never smelled it before. And it had like this tropical scent to it. It smelled really, really good. God, what was he wearing? I got to get myself some of that. So I'm visiting with this guy. And I tell the guy what just happened to me. I can tell he's a fight fan of some level. He's a perfectly normal guy, and we just happen to be the two guys standing there. I'm with nobody. He's with nobody. We're going to have our drink. Let's visit with one another. I keep smelling my shirt. He said, what do you smell? I said, man, you're not going to believe it. I just had a run-in with Anderson Silva. He throws his arm around me, and apparently he had some kind of deodorant on because it smells amazing, and I can't figure out what it is. So I lean my shoulder, and I go, smell that. And the guy goes, that does smell good. So we have this little talk, and the guy goes, I kind of like the way you tell stories. He says, could you tell that story again? I said, yeah. And and I'd never been on TV, never the Fox, ESPN. I'd never been on TV. And he says, well, could you tell it on ESPN? I said, yeah, I could tell that on ESPN. I have the foggiest idea why the stranger is asking me this, but he's a very nice guy. We're having a nice conversation. Reaches in his back pocket and he hands me a card. Turns out he's a vice president at ESPN. The next week, I'm on ESPN. I've boarded an airplane. I've flown out there. I'm on ESPN, and I am telling a different story. I didn't tell the deodorant and the Anderson story, but I told a different story. And that was how I got in the business. And I only tell you that because if anybody ever comes to me and goes, "Hey, Chael, I've been at school and I've been studying this, and I've really got a journalism degree, and good for you. And that sounds like you're on the right path." I had a more bizarre and random story. But that was my story. Hold the thought, not done. So I'm working last week and I'm out at Bellator and I'm on the desk with Jen Brown. And this guy in question, great guy, his name is Karen Portley. So Jen and I are discussing how she got in. But before she tells me how she got in, she asks me, and I tell her a really short version of what I just told you. I had this run-in with Anderson Silva, and it was kind of this thing of drama and theater, and I stopped at a bar to get a Croak and Grenadine, and I shared the story with a guy, and the guy turns out to be near Karen Portley, who handed me a card. Next thing I know, I'm on SportsCenter. She goes, "Oh my gosh." She said, "Chael, I know Karen Portley." She said, "That's how I got into the business." I go, "What?" "What?" She goes, "I was at an event and someone came up to me who knew a guy named Kieran Portley and they thought I would be good on television. They put me in contact with him. I called him. He gave me an opportunity. That was 15 years later." So if you want to know how to get on TV, study journalism, practice your craft, learn a skill, or meet this guy named Kieran Portley.